All right, when billionaires bet on themselves, a charge has been sent through Tesla stock on news Elon Musk bought 2.57 million shares at various prices on Friday for a total of about $1 billion. Purchases are rare for Musk, who last purchased $10 million of Tesla shares back in February 2020. So my question of the day is this: if Elon is buying Tesla, should you? Inez, I got a good note from William Blair analyst Jed Dorsheimer just now in my box. He says these buys are a clear sign of confidence by Musk in the outlook for Tesla.
100%. And it's a sign that he is all in, especially after the company's board proposed that massive pay package with some really lofty targets in there. So the fact that he has bought these shares is a sign of the big vote of confidence for Tesla and a sign that he is totally ready to go all in.
Ali, if Elon was on this panel today, if he actually just popped up on screen, I would ask him this: are you buying this stock more so on a play on robo-taxis and robots than the traditional car business? I think it's a question worth asking for. I personally think he's buying this as a play or bet on robots taking over the world and the industrial community.
Yeah, I would agree with you there, and that's what Wall Street has said as well, right? Tesla is a longer-term story. We were just talking about Apple maybe being that longer-term story when it comes to AI. I think Tesla is that play that you want to be exposed to when we do have that autonomous driving really start to pick up, the robotics, everything that you were just mentioning. That is where all the Tesla bulls have really been focused on over the past few months, even as the stock has struggled in the short term. The car business, it's just lagged. It's not doing great overseas. You have a lot of that competition. Here in the US, the infrastructure is just not fully there yet for widespread adoption. And then you have the expiration of those EV tax credits. That's been an overhang on the stock as well. But if you look out to the future, there are a lot of tailwinds. There are a lot of potential catalysts. And to Inez's point, this shows Elon Musk is all in. Before, shareholders were getting a little nervous that he maybe had his hands in too many things that wasn't totally focused on Tesla. I think this can give shareholders the confidence that he is committed and he's looking out to the long term here.
Callie, last quick word to you. When an insider buys or sells, what does that mean to you?
Well, I'm going to be repeating here, but I think it's a show of confidence, especially with a company that is so founder-oriented and so leader-oriented right now. And I'm not sure if this has been mentioned yet, but Elon hasn't bought shares since 2020. So that probably gives you some indication of how he feels about the stock going forward. But I go back to my earlier comments here. Tesla is a growth stock. I would definitely put it in the growth stock bucket. Is it a time to invest in growth? I'm not so sure with the economy slowing down. So this might be more of a temporary pop.
Tesla shares jumping as CEO Elon Musk is buying up $1 billion in shares. That stock now turned positive for the year. My next guest has been watching the charts on the stock, and he sees a possible breakout ahead. Join me now for a look at the key levels to watch with Tesla is Fairlead Strategies Senior Technical Strategist Will Tamplin. Will, it is good to see you. So Tesla in the green. We've wiped out the year-to-date losses. We turn to you, Will, for that technical take. You look at the charts. What do you see ahead for Tesla, Will? Is this one going to keep moving higher?
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. We do expect Tesla to keep moving higher. It pushed out of a triangle formation a few weeks back, and those patterns are typically bullish when they resolve to the upside. In this case, we do expect intermediate term upside follow through, and we can derive a price projection of around 500. And that's at the top of a long-term secular uptrend channel. That's really the next major resistance level on the chart. We have seen an acceleration in upside momentum after that triangle breakout. We saw some brief consolidation, but really late last week is when we saw the momentum pick up. For those that follow the MACD indicator, we've seen a positive divergence there to the upside. So everything in our work points to more upside follow through for Tesla looking out a few months.
So, Will, let's say I'm watching this and, I'm looking for a pullback. Where would the pullback in the stock be where you would say that would be a smart place to get in?
Sure. So when we see gaps up like we saw today, they sometimes can be exhaustive, especially after a few days of upside that we've already seen. So today's low will mark the top of that gap, and then the bottom of the gap, which is near 396. If that gap fills pretty quickly, then that would indicate that there has been some exhaustion there, and we would expect some short-term digestion and profit taking. And if we see that short-term pullback, the next level for Tesla is around 362. That's from the May high. So former resistance level now turned into support.
So you see this one moving higher. Well, where would you call out overbought territory? What would be the levels?
Sure. I mean, on our long-term metrics, we have a lot of room to overbought territory, and we have, support of those long-term trend following gauges, like a 200-day moving average, for instance. I think if we got up closer to the top of that channel near 500, we would start to see, more overbought extremes take place. An overbought condition isn't necessarily a bad thing. So once we see that overbought condition, a loss of momentum in response to that would be sort of the sell trigger, if you will.
You do know, Will, this one can be, fairly volatile. Is your point there just to make sure, listen, if you're going to move in, you've got to have the right stomach for it?
Yeah, definitely. In a name as high beta as Tesla, it can see outsized moves in one way or the other. So you have to be careful, especially if you don't have an extreme risk tolerance. So our recommendation would just be to position size accordingly. If you are going to trade in and out of Tesla and your risk tolerance is low, just make sure that the position is a relatively small portion of your portfolio.
In the time we have left, Will, let's broaden out this chat. You look at the SPX, the S&P 500. I'm just curious what you see, Will, as we head into this Fed meeting and longer term as we head into year end.
Sure. So going into the Fed meeting, we have an uptrend in place with no concerning sell signals. So positive momentum. We're watching as a risk metric the 20-day moving average. That indicator we find is helpful in strong momentum driven tapes like we're in right now. So a trend following gauge like the 20-day moving average, if that rolls over, that would be a sign that we would see potentially a more significant correction, more so than we've seen over the past several weeks. And then we're also watching support at the 50-day moving average. That's just below 6,400 on the S&P 500 as another risk metric. So if we get below that, then things would start to deteriorate from a momentum perspective as well. And in a stock like Tesla, going back there, that's another thing to keep in mind are these top-down influences, because if we see that SPX break down, then Tesla would likely Tesla would probably go down as well, if not more than the S&P 500. But for right now, the trend is still intact with the support of that 20-day going into the Fed meeting.
And finally, Will, we are watching Treasury yields closely too, of course. Walk me through what you see in the charts there.
Yeah, so we have some key levels in play going into the Fed meeting this week. So the 10-year Treasury yield has an important trend line support near 4%. So that's a key level on the 10-year yield that we're watching. It's a nice round number as well. If we saw a couple of weeks, if the 10-year spends a couple of weeks below that level, that would confirm a breakdown in our work. And it would suggest that a cyclical downtrend in yields has taken hold on the 10-year yield, I should say. And that would put next support at 367 as a downside objective there on the 10-year. We're also watching the 2-year, which has support near 3.5%. Same deal with that one. If it takes out that 3.5% level, that's a long-term level. So a breakdown there would suggest that another cyclical downtrend has a hold there, and secondary support on the 2-year is 3%.